We start with chapter 10, techniques of hearing and remembering. So, hearing is the number one uh, requirement for making progress in Krishna consciousness. Without hearing, how can we learn? Everything is based on hearing. We learn a language by hearing. We learn a science by hearing. We learn social etiquettes by hearing. We learn everything in life by hearing. So similarly, devotional hearing is called Shravana. So Shravana is very important. So Shravana hearing is divided into three sections. Nam Shravanam, hearing the holy names of the Lord. Then we have Charita Shravanam, hearing the pastimes and the activities of the Lord. Then we have Guna Shravanam. Guna Shravanam means hearing the qualities of the Lord. So there are three kinds of hearing. Nam Shravanam, hearing the holy names of the Lord. Charitra Shravanam, hearing the pastimes of the Lord. And Guna Shravanam, hearing about the qualities of the Lord. So hearing is the beginning of Krishna consciousness and is the means to progress in bhakti. Hearing is very crucial. Hearing is very vital because that is the via medium by which transcendental sound is received. Without transcendental sound, how can we become free from the material contamination, the material atmosphere? So sound is very important. And by Krishna's arrangement, the ears are provided for receiving sound. So we have to utilize this facility of the ears to the maximum, to the best of our ability. So how do we engage the ear in receiving sounds? So we hear the holy name, We practice the holy name, we chant the holy name, we hear the sound vibration of the holy name. We hear about the pastimes of the Lord, Charitas Shravanam, and then we hear the qualities of the Lord, Guna Shravanam. So all of these three different things, if it is properly done, then we can make progress. Samsara Sharpadashta Nasta Chestaika Besajam. The conditioned life in this world is like a snake bite. It's like a state of a snake bite. Some poisonous snake, when they bite you, you go unconscious immediately. And so snake charmers, they know some mantras or some herbs by which they can chant those mantras to revive the unconscious person. Or they can squeeze some herbs into his nostrils. And just by smelling those herbs, he can regain his consciousness. So in order to be free from the snake bite of material life, in order to be free from the contamination of material existence, one has to hear transcendental sound. So it is said, Krishneti Vaishnavam Mantram Shrutva Mukta Bhavan Naraha. One can be liberated from the state of amnesia, this unconsciousness, by the effective medicine of hearing the mantra, the Vaishnava mantra. So hearing is very, very important. So on the slide, we have Madhurya Ras, the sweetest of all mellows of devotional service. Madhurya Ras is made even more relishable when accompanied by the static sentiments, Vibhava, Anubhava, Satvika Bhava, Sanchari Bhava, which will all be described in this book. The learned devotees call this mellow Madhurya Ras because it is the sweetest, Madhura, of all the mellows of devotional service. So this is how the Lord interacts with his devotees. So this can be described as Charita Shravanam, the Lord's activities, the Lord's pastimes with his devotees. The Lord relates to every living entity in different ways. Santa Ras, Dasya Ras, Sakya Ras, Vasalya Ras, and Madhurya Ras. The 5 ways by which the Lord interacts with his devotees. By hearing these rasas, these dealings with the Lord, we are engaging in Charita Shravanam. Charita Shravanam, hearing the pastimes of the Lord. So it says here, one who links his ears to the transcendental vibrations through oral reception quickly becomes purified. The beginning of Krishna consciousness and devotional service is hearing. This is called Shravanam. All people should be given a chance to come and join our devotional parties so that they may hear. This hearing is very important for progressing in Krishna consciousness. One who links his ears to the transcendental vibrations through oral reception quickly becomes purified and cleansed in the heart. Now, Sri Chaitanya has affirmed that this hearing is very important. It cleanses the heart of the contaminated soul so that he becomes quickly qualified to enter into devotional service and understand Krishna consciousness. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Shishasika prayers talks about the purification of the mind and the heart. Charita Dharpana Majanam. One has to purify the mind, one has to purify the heart. And what is the mechanism? What is the process for purifying the mind and the heart? By chanting the holy names, and which is called Nam Shravanam. Nam Shravanam. Shukadeva Goswami recommends Charitra Shravanam to Parikit Maharaj. When Parikit Maharaj was cursed to die, he wanted a solution to overcome the fear of death. Shukadeva Goswami told him, just here, Smartavyam, Shrutavyam, Smartavyam, Chechabhyam. Just here, just remember, just think of the activities of the Lord. So, the process of Krishna consciousness is centered around hearing. We will not make sufficient progress and we do not emphasize the hearing and we do not put more energy into hearing. Because this hearing is like eating. It's like nourishing the soul, just as we have to nourish the body by eating. We have to nourish the soul by hearing. Tava vikriditam Krishna nirinam paramam mangalam karna piyusham aswadya tyajanti anyas priham janaha. Uddhava is telling the Lord, my dear Lord Krishna, your pastimes are supremely auspicious for humanity. And they are just like intoxicating beverages for the ears. Tasting such pastimes, one can easily forget other desires. Hearing such pastimes, one can develop attachment for Krishna, and then it becomes easy to forget other things. So the process of Krishna consciousness is the process of hearing. And that is the way we can purify the dirty mind and the dirty heart. Anyone who is serious about getting free from material contamination, we must give importance to hearing. Nam Shravanam, Charita Shravanam, and Guna Shravanam. Hearing the holy name, hearing the pastimes of the Lord, and hearing about the qualities of the Lord. if we concentrate on these three things, these three types of hearing, certainly we would make progress in Krishna consciousness. Certainly we would become free from the contaminations of this world. So the importance of hearing cannot be overemphasized. Srila Prabhupada was recognized by his Guru Maharaj because of his inclination towards hearing. It is said that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta used to give very long classes, 3 hours Bhagavatam class. And people would disappear one by one. The class will be very full. By the 3 hours time, the class is left with a few people. But Prabhupada will stay from beginning to end. And Srila Bhakti Siddhanta noticed Srila Prabhupada staying in the class from beginning to end. And he said, this young man loves to hear. And because he loves to hear, he'll be empowered to spread the mission of the Lord. Because one who hears, he can also speak. If you have not received, how can you give? You have to first of all receive the knowledge by hearing. And then you become full. Then you can also give. But if you don't have the knowledge, if you are empty, what can you give? So the hearing is important. That is the way we drink the nectar of Krishna's name, of Krishna's pastimes, of Krishna's qualities. And when we have drunk sufficiently, then we are also in a position to give. So hearing is most important for every sadhaka. So who wants to read this?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Go ahead.
Materialistic life means that one is beaten by the snake of Maya illusion. In the Garuda Purana, the stress on hearing is expressed very nicely. It is said there, quote, the state of conditioned life in the material world is just like that of a man lying unconscious, having been bitten by a snake. This is because both such unconscious states can be ended by the sound of a mantra, unquote. When a man is snake bitten, he does not die immediately, but he first becomes unconscious and remains in a state of comatose condition. Anyone who is in the material world is also sleeping, as he is ignorant of his actual self or his actual duty and his relationship with God. So materialistic life means that one is beaten by the snake of Maya illusion, and thus without any Krishna consciousness is almost dead. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 10. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. So our situation is compared to one bitten by a very poisonous snake. In fact, as soon as a poisonous snake bites you, it puts you in coma, comatose. You go unconscious. And if there is no solution, eventually the victim dies. But if there are expert people around, they know some sounds, some mantras. They chant those mantras into the ears of the person bitten by the snake. In Bengal, in India, there are still a lot of people who knows this art. When a snake bites somebody, they will chant some mantras. And just by hearing those mantras, the fellow who is in coma will come back to normal. Or sometimes they have some herbs. They will squeeze the water of the herbs and place it in the nostrils of this person bitten by the snake. And just by inhaling the smell of those herbs, the fellow comes back to life. So similarly, the conditioned soul is in coma. Without knowledge of Krishna, without knowledge of the soul, without knowledge of the spiritual sky, without knowledge of our relationship with the spiritual sky and Krishna, we are no better than a bitten victim of a dangerous snake. And that snake is Maya. The snake of Maya has bitten everyone in this material world. And because of that bite, we think we belong to this material world. Everyone is thinking, I belong to this world. So our activities is simply directed towards how to maintain our life in the material world. That's what everybody is doing. How to maintain this life in this material world. But no matter how much we try, we cannot maintain it forever. We have to leave it at some point. But that is how the snake of Maya keeps us roaming in this material world. Samsara, accepting different bodies, accepting different parents, accepting different nationalities, accepting citizens of different planets, accepting citizens of different universes. This has been going on from time immemorial. But all this is forgotten. And so everyone is thinking this is the only life I have. This is the only birth. So I must make the best use of this birth. But it's not true. We have had many, many births. Some births are even better than what we have now. Some are worse than what we have now. But all we have forgotten because we are bitten by the snake of Maya. And everybody is in a comatose. And in that comatose situation, we are thinking, I am this body. I am male. I am female. I'm black. I'm white. I'm rich. I'm poor. I'm learned. I'm stupid. So these are all the effects of the snake of Maya. And how do we get out of this comatose situation? By sound. The expert doctors, Vaidyas, they know the process. They give us the sound of the holy name. Shravana, Nam Shravana, the sound of the pastimes of the Lord. Charitra Shravanam, the sound of the qualities of the Lord. Guna Shravanam. Once we are connected to these three kinds of Shravana, sound, our comatose position will be rectified. We will come out of that comatose position to take to Krishna consciousness. So that is the process of Krishna consciousness. The process of Krishna consciousness is to awaken us from that comatose and revive our spiritual consciousness by which we can serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is the process of Krishna consciousness. Somebody like to read this?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, go ahead.
If someone continues to hear such transcendental sounds, he will become freed from all material illusions. In the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 29th chapter, verse 20, the importance of hearing of the pastimes of the Lord is stated by Sukadev Goswami to Maharaj Parishit. My dear king, one should stay at a place where the great acharyas, holy teachers, speak about the transcendental activities of the Lord, and one should give oral reception to the nectarian river flowing from the moonlike faces of such great personalities. If someone eagerly continues to hear such transcendental sounds, then certainly he will become freed from all material hunger, thirst, fear, and lamentation, as well as all illusions of material existence. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 10.
Thank you. So if someone continues to hear such transcendental sounds, he will definitely become free from all material illusions. So the solution is hearing. Taye bipanti avitros niripa gada karanais taha tanas prishanti ashanatrit maya shoka moha. Those who drink the nectar with eager ears, with constant thirst, are freed from material hunger, thirst, fear, lamentation, and illusion. Those who drink the nectar with eager ears they can become freed from material hunger, material thirst, material fear, material lamentation, and material illusions. So we have to drink the nectar of the holy name, the nectar of the pastimes of the Lord, and the nectar of the qualities of the Lord. One must hear the narrations of the Lord's pastimes. One must hear the narrations of the Lord's qualities. One must hear the narrations of the Lord's holy name. The pure devotees, they are always singing the glories of the Lord. And by hearing such glorious singing descriptions of the glories of the Lord, all inauspiciousness can be removed from one's life. So therefore, one must daily and constantly hear about the Lord from his devotees if one wants to be free from the contamination of the material world. So that is the requirement. So it's recommended here that one should stay in the place where the great acharyas speak about the transcendental activities of the Lord. And one should give oral reception to the nectarian river flowing from the moonlight faces of such great personalities. If someone eagerly continues to hear such transcendental sounds, then certainly he will become free from all material hunger, thirst, fear, and lamentation. So that is the solution to this comatose position that we find ourselves in. So hearing from the devotees of the Lord is very important. This is called Shrutapanta. Shrutapanta. The process of acquisition of knowledge by hearing from authorities. Shrutapanta. That is the system of Vedic education. One has to hear from authorities. We cannot learn without hearing. In fact, Prithu Maharaj, in his glorification of the four Kumaras, when Prithu Maharaj was performing his yagya, horse sacrifice, the four Kumaras came there. And Prithu Maharaj was so happy to receive them. And then in his glorification, he said, wherever such pure devotees like the Kumaras are, says an opportunity. It's an opportunity to hear about the Lord from such people. And therefore, one who wants to make progress in Krishna consciousness will take advantage of such an opportunity. And in such a situation, those who are speaking, they benefit. And those who are hearing, they also benefit. Even one who is just there also benefits. Sangama kalo sadunam ubayesham cha samantaha yat sambasham samprashnaha sarvesham vitanoti sham. When there is a congregation of devotees, there are discussions, questions, and answers become conclusive to both the speaker and the audience, that such a meeting is beneficial for everyone. That was a statement of Prithu Maharaj to the four Kumaras when they appeared in his sacrificial arena. Wherever there is an opportunity to hear from exalted personalities, one should be very eager. That eagerness to hear is the prize for achieving Krishna consciousness, is the prize for becoming purified. If one is not eager to hear Krishna Katha, Hari Katha, one is not eager, then how can one make progress in Krishna consciousness? So when there's an opportunity to hear, one should be very eager to hear. And that hearing will free one from material hunger, material thirst, material fear, lamentation, and all the ramifications of the illusory energy. So this is crucial for everyone. The process of hearing as a means of self-realization in the present age of Kali. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also recommended this process of hearing as a means of self-realization in the age of Kali. In this age, it is very difficult to follow thoroughly the regulatory principles and studies of the Vedas, which were formerly recommended. However, if one gives oral reception to the sound vibrated by great devotees and acharyas, that alone will give him relief from all material contamination. Therefore, it is the recommendation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that one should simply hear from authorities who are actually devotees of the Lord. Hearing from professional men will not help. And we hear from those who are actually self-realized. Then the nectarian rivers, like those which are flowing on the moon planet, will flow into our ears. So this is Mahaprabhu's recommendation. And Mahaprabhu himself, even though he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he demonstrated the importance of hearing. Can anyone remember how Mahaprabhu used to spend his day? How does Mahaprabhu spend his day in Puri? Mahaprabhu used to go to the Tota Gopinath temple. Tota Gopinath temple in Puri. Every day Mahaprabhu goes there. What does he go to do? Any idea what Mahaprabhu goes to Tota Gopinath temple every day to do?
Krishna Maharaj,
Yes?
let me try.
Yeah, try.
What he goes to do is he goes to chant. After chanting, he will make sure there's enough prasad for people who dance, chant, and they'll take a lot of prasad, and that's it.
Well, you've got some points. but that is not exactly what I'm looking for. Jagannath temple, there's always prasad. Main temple, there's Anand Bazaar. Anand Bazaar, there is always prasad to feed thousands of people. So Mahaprabhu used to go there and take some prasad for his devotees, like Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, because of his Muslim background, was not allowed in the premises of Jagannath temple. So Mahaprabhu would daily, without fail, go to Anand Bazaar and obtain some Mahaprasad for his devotee like Haridas. Yeah, so that is there. But in reference to what we are discussing now, Mahaprabhu demonstrated the importance of what we are discussing now. Every day he used to go to Tota Gopinath temple. Garadhara Pandit was the Pujari of the Tota Gopinath temple. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go to the Tota Gopinath temple to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. He would ask Garadhara Pandit to read the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj, the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj, the pastimes of Narad Muni every day. Lord Chaitanya will go to Tota Gopinath temple to meet Garadhara Pandit, who was a Pujari, and he will request him to read from the Srimad Bhagavatam the pastimes of these great devotees, and Lord Chaitanya will hear. And he was never tired of hearing, because every blessed day he will go to Tota Gopinath temple and he will hear the narration from the Bhagavatam about these devotees. So he personally set an example. And also he used to ask Ramananda Raya and Swarup Damodar to narrate the intimate pastimes of Radha and Krishna. So all night he will hear those narrations from Ramananda Raya and Swarup Damodar. So by this, Mahaprabhu demonstrated the importance of hearing. So even though he's the Supreme Lord himself, but he demonstrated the importance of hearing. So we have to take this hearing very important. And the more we hear from authoritative sources, the better for us. Somebody like to read this one?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Yeah.
Giving oral reception to the river of nectar flowing from the mouth of Sri Krishna frees one from all illusions. Unless one finds a superior engagement, he will not be able to give up his inferior engagement. In the material world, everyone is engaged in the illusionary activities of the inferior energy. But when one is given the opportunity to relish the activities of the superior energy performed by Krishna, then he forgets all his lesser pleasures. When Krishna speaks on the battlefield of Kurukshetra to the materialistic person, it appears that this is simply talk between two friends, but actually it is a river of nectar flowing down from the mouth of Sri Krishna. Arjuna gave oral reception to such vibrations, and thus he became freed from all the illusions of material problems. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 10.
Thank you. So, if you look at Bhagavad Gita 1872, 1872, Krishna is asking Arjuna whether he had become free from the illusions. And Arjuna in 1873 informs the Lord how he was become free. Yeah. In 72, the Lord asked Arjuna, Kachit etachrutam parata toya ika grela chetasa. Kachit agyana samoha pranastaste dananjaya. O Partha, O winner of wealth, Dhananjaya, have you heard this Gita with undivided attention? And has your illusion, born of ignorance, been dispelled? So Krishna is asking Arjuna whether his illusions are dispelled. And Arjuna responds to this question. In 73, it says, Arjuna Ovacha, Nasto Mahasmriti Labda, Twat Prashadam Mayachutaha. Stito Smi Gata Sandeha Karishe Vachanam Tava. Arjuna said, Oh, Achyuta, my delusion has been dispelled by your grace. And remembrance that the soul is an eternal servant of Krishna has been regained. My doubts have been dispelled, and I am situated firmly in true knowledge. And I'm going to act according to your instruction. I will now carry out your order. So it said, Krishna's words were like nectar, amrita. The words of Krishna were flowing from his transcendental mouth into the ears of Arjuna. Not only Arjuna, but all the warriors, the kings who were around, they were also hearing, they were also drinking that nectar. And that is why he said that even those who died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, having heard this nectarian narration from Krishna, they all went back home, back to Godhead. So it wasn't a friendly talk. It wasn't. It was a flow of nectar. Krishna's words are always a flow of nectar because he's a transcendental person. A transcendental person always produces nectar. So whatever Krishna says, that is nectar. Because his whole life is nectar. His body is nectar. His abode is nectar. His activity, nectar. Maduram, Maduram, Maduram. Everything about Krishna is Maduram, nectar, honey, sweet. So his words are also nectar. So when Arjuna drank that nectar, his illusions were gone. And now Arjuna has a clear conscience. He's ready to carry out the orders of the Supreme Personality of God. Similarly, when we are covered by the illusions of this material world, we may disobey Krishna's order. But as soon as we are free from that illusions, we cannot disobey Krishna's order. So drinking the nectar from Krishna's mouth in the form of Bhagavad Gita, or hearing about the pastimes of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord from Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, They all have the same efficacy, the same effect. One becomes purified. So this hearing is very, very important for every sadhaka. Somebody wants to read this?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Expecting the mercy of the Lord. In the 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 8, it is said, My dear Lord, any person who is constantly awaiting your costless mercy to be bestowed upon him, and who goes on suffering the resultant actions of his past misdeeds, offering you respectful obeisances from the core of his heart, is surely eligible to become liberated, for it has become his rightful claim. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is one of Brahma's prayers to Lord Krishna. Tate nukampam shukshamiksha mano bhujana evatma kirtam vipakam rit vak vapurbir vidatan namaste jivita yo muktipade sadaya bhak. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for your costless mercy, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances with heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for shelter, is eligible to become liberated, is eligible to become freed from the material world. This is his rightful claim. So the mercy of the Lord is definitely needed. But only those who are patient, those who are tolerant, those who patiently wait for the Lord's mercy. And even though they may be suffering due to past sins, reactions to past sins, but they tolerate it, knowing that the Lord will deliver me from such a situation. So therefore, we have to tolerate. And that's why Krishna, at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about this tolerance. Tam stitiksha swa. That circumstances will always change. Seasons will come, seasons will go. Therefore, a devotee must learn to tolerate. Without tolerance, we cannot make sufficient progress. Tolerance is key to our progress in Krishna consciousness. So therefore, one who is patiently waiting and suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds while waiting for the mercy of the Supreme Lord will certainly get the mercy because it has become his rightful claim. So we all need the mercy of the Supreme Lord. No one is above the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And the Lord is actually ready to give. But we must demonstrate to the Lord that we need that mercy. We deserve that mercy. Somebody want to read this?
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna,
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
A devotee should continue to execute Krishna consciousness seriously, even though there may be impediments. A devotee should not expect immediate relief from the realizations of his past misdeeds. No conditioned soul is free from such reactionary experiences because material existence means continued suffering or enjoying of past activities. If one has finished his material activities, then there is no more, but this is possible only when one begins Krishna consciousness activities, because such activities do not produce reaction. Therefore, as soon as one becomes perfect in Krishna consciousness activities, is not going to take birth again in this material world. A devotee who is not perfectly freed from the resultant actions should therefore continue to act in Krishna consciousness seriously, even though there may be so many impediments. When such impediments arise, he should simply think of Krishna and expect his mercy. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 10.
Yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So devotee should continue to execute Krishna consciousness seriously, even though there may be some impediments. We're in the material world, and the material world will always present some challenges. No one should think that because I have become a devotee, I have joined the Hare Krishna movement, therefore there shouldn't be any problems. In fact, we should even expect more problems. Why? Because we are trying to escape. Durga Devi is the superintendent of the material world, and she's supposed to keep everyone bound up, just like the prison officers. Their duty is to be vigilant to make sure that no prisoner escapes the prison house without serving his prison term. So Durga Devi is in charge of the material world. And so she's doing her job, especially when we take to the process of Krishna consciousness. It means we want to escape. So Durga Devi, she must test us to see whether we are really serious, whether we are sincere, whether we are ready to leave the material world. So we see that when we try to become devotees, then we face more challenges. I think recently I was in Delhi, and one devotee, it's not a new devotee, he has been practicing more than 2 years, though he's not initiated. But he was telling me that, Prabhu, when I was not a devotee, I was not having such challenges. But now I'm trying to be a devotee. So many challenges are coming. Why? So why Krishna is allowing these challenges to come? I said, well, when you go to school, you expect to write exams. If you sit in the house, no exam. Once you enter the classroom and you want to graduate, you must be ready for exam. So Durga Devi, she's the exams officer. She'll make sure that you qualify. She'll make sure that you pass the exam in order to get out of this material world. So all those things that are coming are simply the tests of Durga Devi. So if we are serious about our spiritual life, even though the tests are coming, but the strength is also there, the empowerment is also there, we can withstand it. So it is possible only when one begins Krishna conscious activities, because such activities do not produce reaction. Every activity we perform in the material world produces reaction. We have karma, akarma, and vikarma. Karma means prescribed duties. Vikarma means sinful activities, unprescribed duties. And we have akarma, devotional activities that do not produce result, materialistic results. So if one is engaged in akarma, activity that does not produce results, it means he is engaged in Krishna's service. Devotional service is akarma. They don't produce any result, bad or good. So, in order to become free from reactions, one has to act in Krishna consciousness. And by such actions, one becomes eligible to be promoted into the spiritual sky. So we should expect many challenges because we really want to get out. The more we want to get out, the more Durga Devi has to test to see whether we are really ready or whether we are really tired of material existence and we want to get out. So we should expect impediments. And when they come up, we should just simply cry out to Krishna. We should pray to Krishna. In fact, whatever challenges, whatever impediments are coming our way, there are opportunities for us to come close to Krishna. There are opportunities for us to take shelter of Krishna. There are opportunities for us to become more serious in our devotional activities. Next, somebody want to read this?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Remembrance of the Lord. Some way or other, if someone establishes in his mind his continuous relationship with Krishna, this relationship is called remembrance. About this remembrance, there is a nice statement in the Vishnu Purana where it is said, simply by remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, all living entities become eligible for all kinds of auspiciousness. Therefore, let me always remember the Lord who is unborn and eternal. Quote, unquote, sorry. In the Padma Purana, the same remembrance is explained as follows. Quote, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, because if someone remembers him either at the end of, either at the time of death or during his span of life, he becomes free from all sinful reactions. unquote. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 10. Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Now, remembrance of the Supreme Lord, this is called Smriti. Smriti or Smaranam. When we connect the mind to Krishna, this is described as Yata Katam Chitmanasha Sambandha Smriti Uchite. Connecting the mind to Krishna means thinking about Krishna, remembering the past tense of Krishna. That is the process for remembrance of the Lord. Smrite Sakala Kalyana Bhajanam Yatra Jayate Purusham Tam Ajam Nityam Vrajami Sharanam Harim. Simply by remembering the Lord, one attains all auspiciousness. Therefore, let me take shelter of the Lord, who is unborn and eternal. So, by remembering the Lord, one automatically becomes free from the effects of the illusory energy. So somehow or the other, we must cultivate this remembrance. This remembrance brings auspiciousness. Anyone who remembers the Lord, it brings auspiciousness. And especially if one is able to remember the Lord at the moment of death, then one's life is successful. As Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam. Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam. At the time of death, if one is able to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is no more a resident of this material world. So this remembrance is crucial for us. And so the whole practice of Krishna consciousness is to bring us to this platform of remembrance. That should be our conscious endeavor. How to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in order to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we have to engage the three different types of hearing. Nam Shravanam, Charita Shravanam, and Gunya Shravanam. By constantly chanting and hearing the names of the Lord, by constantly hearing the pastimes of the Lord, by constantly hearing the activities of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord. So that is what this slide is saying. Anyone who is able to remember the Lord at the time of death, such a person has passed the examination. In fact, that's the final examination. At the moment of death, what occupies our mind? That is what will determine our destination. So the emphasis is remembrance of the Lord at the moment of death. So we are training our minds so that we can remember Krishna at the time of death. This chanting of the holy names every day, this hearing the pastimes of the Lord every day, they're all a process of training the mind so that one becomes attached to the Supreme Lord. And when the time comes for one to leave, one can only remember the pastimes of the Lord. Then one is sure to return home, back to Godhead. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
A little question.
Yeah.
When you were explaining that Lord Chaitanya Prabhu used to go to certain temple.
Total Gopinath.
So,
Total
yeah,
Gopinath Temple.
I want you to get me the spelling of that. Is it the spelling of total?
T-O-T-A. Total Gopinath. Total
Okay,
Gopinath.
T-O-T-A. Okay.
Yeah, Total Gopinath Temple.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah, that was the temple. Gadadhara Pandit. Gadadhara Pandit was a Pujari in that temple.
Okay.
And Lord Chaitanya used to go and have darshan of those deities every day. And then he will also sit down with Gadadhara Pandit and ask Gadadhara Pandit to read the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, for him to hear. And in fact, it is said that Lord Chaitanya disappeared into those deities. If you go to that deity, that temple today, the pujaris can open, there is a crack on the knee of the deity, and they said that's when Lord Chaitanya entered the deity. Lord Chaitanya was having very strong kirtan in that temple, and he started running towards the altar. And he entered the altar, he never came back. That's how he disappeared. So when you see those deities, you are seeing Lord Chaitanya. And the garland he was wearing, the garland was left behind. So they made a samadhi, small samadhi for the garland. The garland he was wearing at that time, he left it behind and entered the deity. So the total Gopinath deity is a very special deity in Puri. You cannot go to Puri without seeing those deities because that's when Lord Chaitanya entered. Any other comment? Otherwise, we move on.
Hey, Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare
That's
Krishna.
very nice. So can we say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does not have any grave?
No.
We cannot find any grave of Chaitanya
There's
Mahaprabhu.
no. There's
Wonderful.
because you see, when Lord Krishna left the planet, he created some very big doubt in the minds of the demons. That was intentional. Lord Krishna did that. Lord Krishna left an illusory body. You know, it is said in the 10th canto the destruction of the Yadavas, the Yadus. It's called Mokshalia Lila. Mokshalia Lila. The destruction of the Yadu dynasty. So when the Yadavas, they got intoxicated and they started fighting and killing themselves because no force on earth could stand the strength of the Yadus, because they are Krishna's family members. Because there are two categories of Yadus. Some Yadus are demigods, and some Yadus are eternal associates of Krishna. So those who are demigods, they were engaged in fighting, and they fought and killed themselves, and then returned to the heavenly planets. Because when Krishna was to come, he ordered that many demigods should appear in the Yadu dynasty, Vrishni Yadu dynasty, to support or to help or to participate in his pastimes. So many demigods and demigoddesses, they appeared in the Yadu and the Vrishni dynasties. So those, they engage in that fratricidal war, and they killed themselves. Then when that happened, Balaram entered the sea, and Anantasesha appeared and took Balaram up into the sky, back to the spiritual world. And then Krishna was left. So Krishna, he was sitting under a small banyan tree, and then a hunter called Jara shot his foot, because the hunter saw the beautiful foot of Krishna, and he was thinking it's the face of a deer. So he shot Krishna's foot. And it is said that Krishna left an illusory body there. So because of that, the demonic class of people, they say Krishna was killed by a hunter. If you have not heard that, but it's a common argument atheistic people put forward, that how can you say Krishna is the Supreme Lord when he was killed by a hunter? But that is Krishna's way of doing things. Krishna enforces the devotee's faith, and then he creates a lot of doubts for the non-devotees. That's the way Krishna operates. Yoga Maya Samavritaha, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he covers the eyes, he covers the intelligence of the non-devotees. And for the devotees, Krishna opens their minds, opens their intelligence so they can understand. So, Krishna, by that activity, he has created some doubts in the minds of people. They say Krishna was killed by a hunter. But if Balaram, who is the expansion of Krishna, went back home by riding on Anastasia, what prevents Krishna from also going back home by the same means? What prevents him? Because Balaram is an expansion of Krishna. So if Balaram did not die by the arrow of a hunter, Balaram was picked up by Anastasia and taken up into the sky. What prevents Anastasia from picking Krishna and taking him up in the spiritual sky? But Krishna had a plan. He wanted to bewilder the demonic class of people. So he arranged for one of his devotees called Jara to come down from the spiritual sky to perform this act. And Krishna left an illusory body. So the demons will say, see, you say this is your Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was killed by a hunter. But that is not it. So because of this, Lord Chaitanya, he wanted to establish that the Supreme Lord, he has all the powers. Everything is under his control. So Lord Chaitanya, while he was engaged in kirtan, in the total Gopinath temple. He started running towards the deity and he entered the deity. So there is no grave, there's nothing. He took away his form. He entered the deity, and the deities are still there. If you give the pujari some little money, they'll open the dress of the deity for you to see the crack on the knee, between the knee and the thigh of Krishna, the deity. That is where Lord Chaitanya entered the deity. So it's good to go to Puri and see those deities. They're there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, what I would like to add is about Durga Devi. So when we want to, yes, to progress in Krishna consciousness,
Yes.
she gives us tests or
Yes.
exams. So
Yes.
she's the officer,
Exam officer. Yes.
the exam officer.
Yes.
But it is something new. Something very new I've learned, because I thought that work was done by Maya. We are used to calling Maya Satan. So when something will be good for you, then Satan spoils all. So today I'm very much pleased to hear about Durga Devi as
Yes.
the officer.
They don't have any understanding. That's why they describe Durga as Satan. Sometimes I used to ask the Christians that who created Satan? Satan did not create himself. Satan was created by God according to their scripture, according to the Bible. Satan is a creature of God. They say it's a snake. Who created the snake? God created the snake. Why did God create the snake? Why did God create the Satan? There's a purpose. Everything has a purpose in creation. And then they tell us the story of Adam and Eve, how the snake approached Eve and asked him to eat the forbidden fruit. So it was a test. That's an examination. In fact, I tell Christians that they will be surprised when they go to the kingdom of God and see Satan sitting on the left-hand side of God. They'll be surprised. Because the Bible says Jesus sits on the right side of God. Who sits on the left side of God? They don't know. So I tell them they'll be surprised when they go to heaven and see Satan sitting on the left side of God. They'll be surprised. He's a servant of God. His business is to test everyone. Satan is doing his work very nicely. He's a very great devotee. If there is no Satan, how can you know who is a true Christian and who is not a true Christian? If there is no exam officer, how can you grade the students? A, B, C, D. How can you grade them? Everybody will claim I've passed, but the exam officer will know this is a brilliant student, he's got A. This is second, he's got B. This is third, he's got C. This is fourth, he's got D. And this one he has failed, he's got F. So Satan is a dear servant of God. He is performing his work very diligently. His duty is to make sure that we pass the exam to go back home, back to Godhead. In fact, one time I had a lecture with some Christian church, and then I said that Satan is a dear devotee of God. They said, no, how can you say that? I said, who created Satan? And they kept quiet. Who empowers Satan? They kept quiet. It's God who created him, and God gave him the knowledge, and God engaged him. You may not know, you may not understand, but Satan is a dear servant of God. You'll be surprised. I said the greatest surprise for Christians is that when they go to the kingdom of God and they see Satan sitting on the left-hand side of God, they will not believe it. But that is a fact, because he's a dear servant. He's a loyal servant of God. So Durga Devi is what we call Maya, actually. And Durga Devi is doing her job. She's the superintendent of the material creation. So she has to test us to make sure we pass the exam in order to enter the spiritual sky. She's doing her service very nicely. So it is said that Durga Devi has two kinds of mercy. She has Niskapata Kripa and Sakapata Kripa. Two types of mercies. Niskapata Kripa is the real mercy of Durga Devi. Niskapata Kripa. That's the real mercy of Durga Devi. And it is said that when Durga Devi wants to favor a person, he will subject you to severe trouble. He would put you under serious trouble. And you cry. And then you raise your hands. And then you surrender to God. That's the real mercy. When Durga subjects you to severe trouble and you have no way out, there's no escape, you run to God and surrender. That is the real mercy of Durga Devi. Then the Sakapata mercy or Kripa is when Durga does not like you, Durga will give you plenty wealth, plenty facilities, plenty everything, so that you become very covered. You think you are the boss of the material world, but you become more and more entangled. Unless, of course, you get a direction from a pure devotee how to use that wealth in Krishna's service. If Durga gives you money and you use the money in the service of the Lord, then that money turns into Niskapata Kripa. It becomes the mercy to take you out of the material world. But if you think you are the enjoyer of that wealth, then it becomes Sakapata. You become entangled and you remain for many, many more lives. So Durga Devi, she's doing her job very nicely. Gaurav Shakti, does that answer your question?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Any other comment before we proceed?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I just want to make a comment in a lighter mood.
All right, go ahead.
Like this concept of Durga Devi, that is called Satan, so many names in different scripture.
Yeah.
I think the concept, it may be like you said, you gave a lecture in a Christian forum where you told them that somehow they might be surprised to see Satan sitting at the left-hand side of God. Actually, the idea they have that is propagated, even unknowingly, even among devotees, is like Satan is always painted like one horrible being.
That's right.
Very, very terrible with long horn. It's, as an artist, I understand this thing somehow in a deeper sense. But the idea is like when Durga Devi is so beautiful, So when he's sitting at the right hand of left hand of God, like what you said, they may not even realize that this is the demon, because he's not sitting like one horrible being. It's just very beautiful stuff, and they might even be thinking that he's an angel. So I think it's more of a concept that deceives people. So demon is not like one terrible being. It's like it could be realized in many ways. So people should start understanding that the concept of demon Durga Devi is not associated with a very bad quality, pictorially anyway.
I get your point, but also I think you need to know that Durga has so many forms. Durga has so many forms, and some of their forms are horrible looking.
Sometimes it's not. Sorry, Maharaj. Sometimes it's not even projected. Like Putana, when Putana came, he came as a very beautiful young
The lady, like the goddess of fortune. Yes.
Yeah, in that concept of Putana being beautiful, they allowed her to enter. So it was when she. So I think people should really realize that demon is not like something you just feel is always very dangerous, terrible in that dangerous form, because it comes in a subtle way. The beautiful things could act like that. So that's just. Sorry, Maharaj, for taking your time.
Yeah, it's true that it's a pictorial description. They present devil as a black man with horns, looking very ugly, very dangerous. In one sense, it could be a representation of one aspect of Durga. There's Bandrakali. Bandrakali is very, very artful to look at. He has many hands with a tongue on his chest, black looking, with hair standing on the body. That form of Durga is very dangerous to look at, very terrible to look at, to perceive. So probably that's what they are trying to paint. They are trying to draw, and they just exaggerated it. But that's one aspect of Durga. Very dangerous form of Durga, Badrakali. And then the normal Durga, his original form is a beautiful lady riding on a tiger with 10 hands and 10 weapons. That is the form of Durga, original form. But she also has other expansions. And one of the horrible forms is this Badrakali. It's horrible to look at. So that is what they might have painted with the horns and all that. So it's a pictorial description of maybe one aspect of Durga Devi. Because actually, to be honest with you, most of the scriptures that we have today, whether it is from the Bible or even from the Quran, many of these things are taken from the very literatures. Many are taken from the very literatures, because the very literatures are the original scriptures on the planet. And you will find traces. For instance, the story of Noah. The story of Noah, the ark, and the flood. It is taken from the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. If you read the story of the Matsya avatar, you will find exactly the story presented as the story of Noah. The flood, the golden ark, and then the 9 sages, and so on and so forth. It's just taken from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then even the creation, if you read the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it talks about the creation. The first thing in creation is sound. And the Bible says in the beginning was a word, and the word became man, and so on and so forth. It's taken from the 3rd canto. The first element is sound. From sound, sky. From sky, air. From air, fire. From fire, water. From water, earth. That is how the creation came. So you will find that most of the philosophy and theology of Christianity, much of it is from the Vedas. Similarly, the Quran, you'll be surprised to find many things from the Quran corresponding with the Vedic literature. Why is it that in every masjid, on every mosque, there is the moon crescent, the new moon? Ask any Muslim, what is the meaning of that? They have no idea. I've asked a number of malams, a number of imams, what is the meaning of, where does this crescent come from? They have no idea. They are just following tradition. But the crescent is coming from Lord Shiva. When Lord Shiva drank halahala, the poison, when the demigods and the demons, they churned the ocean of milk, the first product was called halahala. Very poisonous substance came out of it. And everyone was running away. So Lord Vishnu asked Lord Shiva to remove the poison. And Lord Shiva drank the poison. But he didn't swallow the poison. He kept it in his throat. And that's why he's called Nilakant, blue neck. But because he kept it there, he was feeling dizzy. Lord Shiva was feeling dizzy for drinking the poison. And so the moon god, Chandra, came to sit on his head to cool his brain, to cool his mind from the poisonous effect of the poison. The moon is supposed to be full of nectar. The vibration of the moon is nectarian. So by that vibration, Chandra was able to cool the mind of Lord Shiva. And so Lord Shiva is always carrying the moon crescent. So that is how the moon crescent has come. The Kaaba they are worshipping is nothing but the Shiva Linga. The Kaaba, the black stone in Mecca, that they are circumambulating and worshipping is nothing but the Shiva Linga. And that is why on top of the mosque, you have the moon crescent. In fact, from research, it has been found that Muhammad, peace be unto him, his parents were Shivites. His parents were worshippers of Shiva. At the time of Prophet Muhammad, demigod worship was very rampant in Arabia. Everybody has his own god. Everybody has his own deity. And Prophet Muhammad said he will not tolerate this variety of worship. So he stopped all forms of worship, except the one that was conducted by his parents. So what they call the Kaaba, they say is a stone that fell from heaven, is actually the Shiva Linga, because that place was a temple of Lord Shiva, and his parents were the pujaris. And so they have inherited the philosophy of Shiva worship. And they, of course, Muhammad performed austerities. He meditated in a cave for many years. And then finally, Angel Gabriel brought him the Quran in three phases. The first phase, he said, this is for commoners. That is what is in the Quran. It's for common people. Second phase is what is mentioned in the El Hadith. Instructions for a very special class of people. Those who are qualified to hear. And then there is a third level of knowledge. Angel Gabriel told Muhammad, this is for you alone. Nobody else can understand this. It requires high consciousness. They don't have it. So this knowledge is for you. So he said the Quran was given in 3 steps. First for the commoners, second for the second class, and the last one he said is this is purely for you because of your elevated consciousness. All these all these Muslims don't know. When I speak with some Muslim scholars, they have some faint idea. Otherwise, why is it that there are Muslim groups who are vegetarians? There are Muslim groups who go esoteric. Where did they get that esoteric teaching from? How did they become vegetarians? So there is a lot. that is yet to be known about even Christianity and Islam. And devotees are doing a lot of research in these fields. And I'm sure in the future, we'll get more information about the Vedic literatures being the source of both the Christian philosophy or theology and the Islamic theology. So anyway, we have digressed. Let's go back to our subject matter. But this is just for your information.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
So this one says, meditating on the form of the Lord. In the Narasingha Purana, there is a statement about meditation on the form of the Lord. It is said that meditation focusing on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has been accepted as transcendental and beyond the experience of material pain and pleasure. By such meditation, even one who is grossly miscreant can be delivered from the sinful reactions of his life. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 10. Meditation is described as dhyanam. Dhyanam means meditation. Meditation means to contemplate on the Lord's form, on the Lord's qualities, on the Lord's pastimes, and service with absorption. Dhyanam rupa guna krida sevedas tuta chintanam. So, meditation involves a number of things. Rupa dhyanam. Rupa dhyanam means meditating on the form of the Lord. Rupa dhyanam, meditating on the form of the Lord. Meditating on the Lord's lotus feet is the means to be free from the dualities of this world. Even a sinner who meditates casually attains the highest benefit. So when we go to see the deity, we should begin our meditation from the lotus feet. We should begin from the lotus feet. We should look at the lotus feet, then gradually we raise our attention to the knees, to the thighs, to the groins, to the stomach, to the chest, to the neck, and then to the face. That is the process or procedure for meditating on the form of the Lord. So that is called Rupa Dhyanam. Rupa Dhyanam means meditating on the form of the Lord. Then we have Guna Dhyanam. Guna means quality. Guna Dhyanam. Guna Dhyana means those who always meditate on the qualities of the Supreme Lord, those who meditate with devotion, they become free from sinful reactions and they are qualified to enter the kingdom of God. Ye kurvanti sada bhaktya gunanu smaranam hare prakishna kaloshongas te pravishanti hare padam. By meditating on the qualities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes purified. Harihi nirguna shaksha purusha prakrite paraha. Because the Lord is purusha prakrite paraha, the Lord is beyond the material qualities. If one meditates on that form, Harihi nirguna shakshat. Nirguna means the Lord is spiritual. He is beyond material qualities. If one meditates on this spiritual form, one also develops spiritual qualities. So here it says, one who always meditates on the form of the Lord, the qualities of the Lord, one becomes free from all kinds of reactions, and one becomes eligible to enter the kingdom of God. So we have Rupa Dhyayam, meditating on the form. We have Guna Dhyayam, meditating on the qualities. We have Krida Dhyayam. Krida Dhyayam means meditating on the pastimes of the Lord. Krida Dhyayam. Rupa Dhyayam, Guna Dhyayam, Kripa Dhyayam. Kripa Dhyayam means meditating on the form of the Lord. And finally, we have Seva Dhyanam. Seva Dhyanam. Seva Dhyanam means meditating on the Krishna service, devotional service. So, Sarva Madhurya Sharani, Sarva Bhuta Maya Nicha, Dhyayam Hares Charitrani, Nalitani Vimuchate. One who always meditates on the sweetest and most outstanding and most astonishing activities of the Lord surely becomes free from all material contamination. One who always meditates on the sweetest and most astonishing activities of the Lord surely becomes free from all material contaminations. So, Krita Dhyanam, meditating on the activities of the Lord. Rupa Dhyanam, meditating on the form of the Lord. Guna Dhyanam, meditating on the qualities of the Lord. Krida Dhyanam, meditating on the pastimes of the Lord. And lastly, Seva Dhyanam, meditating on the service of the Lord. Manaseno Pacharena, Paricharya Harim Sadaha, Parevani Manasha Gamyam, Tam Shakshat Prati Pedire. Constantly serving the Lord with items produced in the mind, some devotees directly attend the lotus feet of the Lord, who is not approachable for others by words or mind. Constantly serving the Lord with items produced in the mind. In other words, Manasha Puja, meditating on the service of the Lord in the mind. It said that by meditating on the service of the Lord in the mind is as good as doing the service. I think there is a nice story here. The Brahmana who offered the sweet rice, the story of the sweet rice. In the city of Pratishtana in South India, there was a poor Brahmana. He was peaceful and satisfied. He thought that his poverty was due to his past misdeeds and by the Lord's will. Once in a spiritual discourse, he heard that one can serve the Lord even by meditation. If one cannot afford, he can serve the Lord by meditation. So he took bath in the river Godavari and sat in a solitary place and began to meditate on the activities of worship of the Lord. He mentally established the Lord's deity and began to imagine that he was cleaning the temple, collecting water in golden and silver pots from many holy rivers like Godavari, Ganga, Yamuna, Narmada, Kaveri, and so on. Then he gathered flowers, fruits, incense, sandalwood, pop, offer arati, dressing the Lord in costly clothing and ornaments, and so on. He meditated like that daily for many years and became happy the whole day. One day in his meditation, he had prepared some sweet rice with ghee and offered to the Lord in a golden pot. He touched the hot sweet rice with his finger to see how warm the sweet rice was. And he got burnt in that meditation. And when he opened his eyes The bend broke his meditation. When he opened his eyes, he actually saw that his finger was bent by the hot sweet rice he prepared in his mind. Seeing this, Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha smiled, and Lakshmi Devi and others became curious why the Lord is smiling. But the Lord did not reply. Instead, he immediately sent an airplane to go to the earth planet and bring that Brahmana to Vaikuntha. When the Brahmana came, the Lord showed his bent finger to everyone and explained the whole story. The Lord kept the Brahmana permanently in his own abode. The Lord is all pervading. He was in Vaikuntha, and the Brahmana's heart, and he was in Vaikuntha and in the Brahmana's heart, and was observing his meditation. He accepts things offered by the devotees, even in meditation, and offers the desired result. So this Brahmana, for many years, he was doing Manasa Puja. He was worshiping the Lord in his mind. And one day, he offered sweet rice to the Lord. And he was thinking the sweet rice is too hot. So he decided to put his finger into the sweet rice to see how hot it was. And the sweet rice bent his finger. And that broke his meditation. And when he opened his eyes, which was he was in a meditation, he saw that his finger was bent. So one can render service by meditation, as mentioned, the four ways: Rupa Dhyanam, Guna Dhyanam, Krida Dhyanam, and Seva Dhyanam. These are the four ways one can meditate on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Next, who wants to read this? Hare Krishna Mataji.
Simply by remembering the Lord's form, quality, pastime, one becomes eligible to enter the kingdom of God. In the Vishnu Dharma, there is a statement about meditation and transcendental qualities of God. It is said, persons who are constantly engaged in spiritual consciousness and who remember the transcendental qualities of God become free from all reactions to spiritual activity. And after being so cleansed, they become fit to enter into the kingdom of God. In other words, no one can enter into the kingdom of God without being free from all spiritual. One can avoid spiritual reactions simply by remembering God's qualities, actions, etc. Nature of devotion.
Thank you. Simply by remembering the Lord's form, qualities, pastimes, one becomes eligible to enter the kingdom of God. So these four types of meditation: Rupa Dhyanam, Guna Dhyanam, Krida Dhyanam, and Seva Dhyanam. By engaging in these forms of meditation, one becomes eligible to enter into the kingdom of God. So that is the process of entering the kingdom of God. The process is to always remember the Lord. If we remember the Lord, actually that is it said that is the essence of all instructions. Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. Smartam via satatam Vishnu, Vishmritam vyona jatuchit. Sarve vidi nishidaisu etayor invoking karaha. Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. He is the source of all the incarnations. He should always be remembered and never forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these two principles. Smartavya satatam Vishnu, Vishmritavyo na jatu chit. One should always remember the Lord and never forget him. These are the essence of all scriptural injunctions. Always remember the Supreme Lord and never forget him. All other instructions are simply servants of these two instructions. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. That is the goal of Krishna consciousness, to help us remember the Lord and never forget him. So this is our goal. The goal of Krishna consciousness is to always remember the Lord and never forget him. Always. Smartam via satatam Vishnu. Vishmartam vyo na jatu chit. Vishmartam vyo na jatu chit. One should always remember, we should endeavor to remember the Lord, and we must never forget the Lord. If we can train our minds to always somehow or the other remember the Lord and never to forget him, that is our success. No matter what, the end will be successful. The end will be glorious. Because at the time of death, at the time of leaving this body, this is necessary, this is required. Yam yam vapi smaranam bhavam tyajate ante kelevram. At the time of death, whatever occupies our minds, whatever we think of at the moment of death, that we shall attain without fail. So the whole life is from preparing the mind so that at the moment of death, we can remember Krishna. So all this chanting, all this reading, all these studies, all this hearing is to mold the mind so that the mind can remember Krishna and never forget Krishna. And anyone who is able to remember Krishna at the moment of death, such a soul is Bhagyavan Jiva. He is a fortunate soul. Somebody wants to read this?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Go ahead, read.
The power of performing meditation in devotional service. Then one day, the Brahmana imagined in his meditation that he had prepared some sweet rice with milk and sugar and offered the preparation to the deity. However, he was not very satisfied with the offering because the sweet rice had been prepared recently and it was still very hot. So, because the sweet rice had been prepared by the Brahmana very recently, he wanted to touch it so that he could know whether it was fit for eating by the Lord. As soon as he touched the sweet rice pot with his finger, he was burnt by the heat of the pot. His meditation broke, Nectar of Devotion, chapter 10. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we already discussed that. His medication broke, and he saw that actually his finger was bent. And that made Lord Vishnu to smile in Vaikuntha. And Lakshmi Devi was asking the Lord, why are you smiling? What is amusing, making you smile? Lord Vishnu did not say anything. Immediately he sent an aircraft from Vaikuntha to come and pick the Brahmana and bring him home. And Lord Vishnu, when he brought the Brahmana home, he now explained to Lakshmi, see this Brahmana? He is a poor Brahmana, he had nothing, but just by mental service, meditation, he satisfied me. And that is why I brought him home. So there is no excuse that we cannot serve the Lord. Even in the most impoverished situation, one can meditate on the service, and that meditation will bear result. Next slide. Actually, it's the continuation. An airplane sent from Vaikuntha immediately brought the Brahmana into Lord Narayan's presence. When the Brahmana was thus present before the Lord and the goddess of fortune, the Lord explained the whole story. The Brahmana was then fortunate enough to get an eternal place in Vaikuntha in the association of the Lord and his Lakshmis. This shows how the Lord is all-pervading, in spite of his being locally situated in his abode. Although the Lord was present in Vaikuntha, he was present also in the heart of the Brahmana when he was meditating on the worshipping process. Thus, we can understand that things offered by the devotees, even in meditation, are accepted by the Lord, and they help one achieve the desired result. Somebody wants to read this?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, go ahead. Malanila Prabhu.
Accepting Vedic ritualistic performances and prescribed duties of devotional service. In the condition so, who have come into contact with material world are all more or less desirous of lording over material nature. The system of Varnashrama and the prescribed duties under this system are so designed that the conditioned soul may enjoy in the material world according to his desire for sense gratification, and at the same time gradually become elevated to spiritual understanding. Under these prescribed duties of Varna and Ashrama, there are many activities which belong to devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Those devotees who are householders accept Vedic ritualistic performances as well as the prescribed duties of devotional service, because both are meant for satisfying Krishna. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 11. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So we have finished with chapter 10. Now we are entered into chapter 11. So here is saying accepting very ritualistic performances and prescribed duties of devotional service. So Dashyam means servitorship. Darshan means offering our services to the Lord. It could be physical service, it could be mental services, but service has to be rendered to the Lord. Therefore, the Varna Ashrama system, Varna Ashrama means the 4 Varnas and the 4 Ashramas. What are the 4 Varnas? Any idea what are the 4 Varnas?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Hare Krishna, the 4 Varnas.
The 4 Varnas are Brahmana,
Mhm.
the second Kshatriya,
Yes,
the third Vaishya,
yes,
and the fourth one is Shudra.
Sundra, correct. And then what about the 4 ashrams?
The 4 ashrams, we have
Okay,
sannyasi,
okay,
vanaprastha,
okay,
that is the second. The third is householders, that is
okay.
grihastha,
Yeah, yeah,
grihastha,
okay.
and the last one is brahmachari.
That's right. Thank you.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
We say Varna Ashrama. We are talking about uh, the four Varnas, and then the ashramas, the 4 ashramas. The 4 Varnas are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. And the ashramas are sannyas, vanaprastha, grihastha, and brahmachari. So when you combine the 2 systems, the Varna system and the ashrama system, then you have Varna ashrama. And this Varna ashrama comes along with duties. The Brahmanas have duties, the Kshatriyas have duties, the Vaishyas have duties, the Sudras have duties. Sannyasis have duties, Vanaprasthas have duties, Grihastas have duties, Brahmacharis have duties. So if each and every one of these people are performing their duties rightly and offering the results to the Supreme Lord, that is that is that can lead one to devotional service. So it said here that the system of Varna Ashram and the prescribed duty under this system are so designed that a conditioned soul may enjoy in the material world according to his desire for sense gratification, at the same time gradually become elevated to spiritual understanding. Under these prescribed duties of Varna and Ashram, there are many activities which belong to devotional service and Krishna consciousness. Those devotees who are householders accept very ritualistic performances as well as the prescribed duties of devotional service because both are meant for satisfying Krishna. So, one can engage his activities of Varna in the service of the Lord, just as one can engage the activities of Ashram in the service of the Lord. If one is able to engage the activities of his Varna, whether one is Brahman, one is Kshatriya, one is Vaishya, one is Sudra, if his activities, his prescribed duties, are centered around pleasing Krishna, those activities will help him become a devotee. Similarly, if the brahmachari, the grihastha, the vanaprastha, and sannyas, if their activities are directed towards Krishna, those activities will enable such a person to become a devotee of the Lord. So, in whatever varna we may be, or whatever ashram we may be, and whatever prescribed duties that goes along with these varnas and ashrams, if they are dovetailed, if they are engaged in Krishna consciousness, one can make progress even in the ashram or the varnashrama ashram system. So whatever we do is actually meant for the satisfaction of Krishna. And if we are able to satisfy Krishna by our actions, that is the perfection of life. That is our success. To be able to engage our prescribed duties in Krishna's pleasure, Krishna's service. That is what prescribed duties are meant for. So the activities of the Varna Ashrama should be directed towards service to Krishna. And such services, such duties can elevate one beyond this material world. Engagement in the service of the Lord with the Lord as the master and the worker as the servant. Srila Rupa Goswami describes one who is fit for becoming engaged in devotional service. He says that persons who are neophytes and who have developed a little love of Godhead are not interested in the activities of sense gratification in proportion to their devotion. But if there is still some attraction for sense gratification activities, then the result of such activities should be offered to Krishna. This is also called engagement in the service of the Lord, with the Lord as the master and the worker as a servant. So, Rupa Goswami is saying that one can become eligible, one can become fit to engage in devotional service if he offers the result of his activities for the pleasure of Krishna. So offering whatever we have in the service of Krishna, this is called Yukta Vairagya. Whatever we have, we simply engage it in the service of Krishna. That is Yukta Vairagya. That is the approach by the devotees, engaging everything in Krishna's service. Unlike the Gyanis, the Mayavadis, they don't want to touch money, they don't want to touch anything material. That is called Falgu Vairagya. It's a false renunciation because nothing belongs to us. Nothing belongs to us. Everything belongs to Krishna. The material world, it belongs to Krishna. Whatever resources we may have belongs to Krishna. Even our body belongs to Krishna. Our mind belongs to Krishna. Our soul belongs to Krishna. Krishna says, Mama Ivamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhutta Sanatana. He said the living entity, the soul, is part and parcel of him. It's his property from time immemorial. So everything we see belongs to Krishna. So our only business is to engage these things in the service of the Lord. And because it is directed to the service of the Lord, one feels joy, one feels happy doing that. So we understand that everything is coming from Krishna, everything is meant for Krishna's satisfaction. So the devotees, whatever they have, they engage in Krishna's service, and by doing so, they become eligible to enter the spiritual sky. The Mayavadis and the Gyanis, they say they don't want to touch anything material, and so they don't engage anything in Krishna's service, and as such, they are not qualified to enter the spiritual world. They can only go as far as the Brahmajyoti, but they cannot stay in the Brahmajyoti because there's no shelter there. You can only get shelter in the spiritual planets. When you get to one of the spiritual planets by devotional service, then Lord Vishnu offers you shelter. Krishna offers shelter. And once you receive the shelter of the Supreme Lord, then you don't have to come out of the spiritual world again. You don't have to fall down again. But these Gyanis and Mayavadis, because they have no shelter, because they have no connection with the spiritual planets, they remain in the Brahmajyoti, and after a while, they fall back into the material world. So their position is very, very dangerous, very precarious, very risky, because one is bound to fall back into the material world and become a philanthropist. But a devotee, he goes back home, back to Godhead by devotional service. That is the advantage that the devotee has over the non-devotees. Somebody wants to read this?
Hare Krishna Maharaj,
Hare Krishna.
first class devotees never deviate from devotional service under any circumstance. In the Mahabharata, Draupadi says, quote, "My dear Govinda, your promise is that your devotees can never be vanquished. I believe in that statement, and therefore, in all kinds of tribulations, I simply remember your promise, and thus, unquote." The purport is that Draupadi and her 5 husbands, the Pandavas, were put into severe tribulation by their cousin brother, Duryodhana, as well as by others. The tribulations were so severe that even Bhishma Dev, who was both a lifelong brahmachari and a great warrior, would sometimes shed tears thinking of them. He was always surprised that although the Pandavas were so righteous and Draupadi was practically the goddess of fortune, and although Krishna was their friend, still they had to undergo such severe tribulations. Nectar of Devotion, chapter 11. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. So you see, sometimes we think that because we have become devotees, we should not face any difficulty. But just imagine the Pandavas, 5 Pandavas, they are very exalted devotees. Krishna is their personal friend. Krishna comes to live with them in their home. Krishna, he sleeps on the same bed with Arjuna because they're age mates, they're friends. They eat together, they go to the forest together, they do many things together. The Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet, the Pandavas went through hell. They went through difficulty. So, to a degree that sometimes Bhishma Dev, a great warrior, a great general, and a lifelong brahmachari, he would shed tears just thinking about how the Pandavas are going through such hellish situations. So we should understand that when Krishna wants to give mercy, he wants to give his devotees mercy. He subjects them to such trials. And that is why we see that Kunti Devi, the mother of the Pandavas, she was not praying to Krishna to take away the problems. She was rather praying to Krishna to increase their problems. Can you imagine that? It's amazing that that Kunti was praying to Krishna to bring more calamities. He was not praying to Krishna to reduce their problems. In the Bhagavatam, Kunti Devi prays, Vipada Santuta Saswat, Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru, Bhavanto Darshanam Yatsyad, Apurnam Bhava Darshanam, Apurnam Bhava Darshanam. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated births and deaths. So Krishna is about to leave Hastinapur, and Kunti Devi is bidding farewell to Lord Krishna. And he's telling Lord Krishna, let the calamities come again and again and again. Now, Yudhishthira Maharaj has now become the king of Hastinapur. After the battle of Kurukshetra, when Yudhishthira Maharaj was established on the throne of Hastinapur, and Krishna was leaving Hastinapur to Dwaraka, Kunti Devi is praying that let the calamities come again and again and again so that we could see you. Because by seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated birth and death. So the Krishna was a dear friend of the Pandavas. Even sometimes he acted as their servant. Krishna acted as their watchman, their security officer. He also acted as a messenger. He was sent to Hastinapur to go and negotiate peace. And then he acted as a driver. A driver has no prestige. A driver simply takes orders from his master. Krishna accepted the position of a charioteer driver of Arjuna. And you know, on the battlefield, there's no talking. Everything is by signs. So Arjuna was kicking Krishna. When Arjuna kicked Krishna on the left foot, it means Krishna should drive the chariot on the left side. And when Arjuna kicked Krishna with the right foot, it means Krishna should drive the chariot on the right side. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he became an ordinary driver of Arjuna's chariot. And Arjuna was kicking the Lord at the back. He has to take instructions from Arjuna. That is the very wonderful nature of Krishna. Even though he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, still he accepts the service of his devotees. Swayam Bhagavan Krishna Sarva Ishwaraya Shwaraya Adityam Nandadmanja Rashika Shekaram. That even though Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, he is the controller of everyone, Sarva Ishwaraya Shwaraya. Yet, the Lord, he agrees to become the son of his devotee, Aditya Nandanmajam. He agrees to become a servant and son of his devotee. He becomes a driver of his devotee. And Arjuna is directing Krishna, go here, go straight, go left, go right. And Krishna was obeying the orders of Arjuna. That is how special a devotee is to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, for a first-class devotee, he never deviates from devotional service. And that's why Kunti Devi is praying that may more calamities come again and again so that we will remember you. Anyway, we'll end here. Tomorrow we'll continue from 180, slide 180. We'll continue from this one. Friendly behavior of a devotee accepted as raganunga or spontaneous Love. Any comment or question? Our time is exhausted. We have gone 7 minutes beyond. Any comments or question? Otherwise, tomorrow we are meeting at what time? 6 o'clock. Yeah, GMT, and 7 o'clock Nigerian local time. We're going to go for 1 hour 45 minutes because I have a meeting, very important meeting at 8 o'clock. Actually, I have two, one 8 o'clock, one 9 o'clock. So we would, so we will start the class promptly at 6 o'clock, promptly at 6 o'clock. And we'll end at 7:45. We'll see how far we'll go tomorrow. So if there are no questions, we call it a day and we look for
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question, but which is not totally related to what you have just said, totally
Okay.
related to the.
You can bring the question.
Yes, okay. It concerns meat eating.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. In our service, they send students to buy food, but the teachers are kamis. As devotees, we have our children. Okay, if they send our children to buy meat for them, do you think that our children will have some karmic reactions? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. The Bhagavatam says, the Bhagavatam describes as if 4 or 5 people who suffer the reactions of animal slaughter. The person who rears the animal, the person who sells the animal, the person who kills the animal, the person who cooks the animal, and the person who serves the meat. They are all implicated in the crime. So the best is not to get involved in anything concerning meat. That's the ideal situation. But in practical life, there are certain situations you cannot avoid. I remember one devotee he runs a taxi. And when he carry passengers, sometimes they carry fish, they carry meat. So this devotee was asking me, what do we do with such passengers? I said, well, once you are a driver and your vehicle is for public use, you cannot ask every passenger, do you have meat in your bag? Do you have meat in your load? You cannot do that. You see, so there are certain things, Krishna himself sees the situation and Krishna will help you out. Yeah, so as a taxi driver, you cannot discriminate. You can't ask everybody, what is inside your load? Do you have meat? Do you have fish? Do you have eggs? No, you can't do that. Similarly, as a student, if your teacher sends you to buy him food, and obviously the food contains some fish or some eggs or some meat, they are untouchables. As a devotee, you should not touch them. But because you are in a superior and you are in an inferior position, your teacher is superior, he sent you. If you refuse, he will simply punish you, or he would mark you down, and then he start disturbing you in class because you have refused to go and buy him food. So in such a situation, probably the parents should go to the teachers and explain. They see, my children, we are not meat eaters, so we don't touch meat. So please, it's an appeal. Please do not send my children to go and buy meat for you. I'm just pleading because it's against our principles. But if they insist, What can you do? So long as your children are in that school under their authority, if you want to fight with them, the children will suffer. So in that situation, only Krishna will take care of the situation. Krishna understands the situation and he will take care. The best is they should not get involved in such an activity. But because they are subordinates, they have no choice. If they don't do it, they'll be penalized. The teachers will disturb their studies. So on that note, they'll just do it with the understanding that Krishna is going to rectify the situation. And so if the parents really want, they should go. It's like sometimes we have our children attending boarding schools. So the parents go to the school and talk to the headmaster that my child cannot eat meat, my child cannot do these things. So please make special arrangement for him or allow him to cook his own food. We have that situations. And the principal, the headmaster agrees. Okay, since he's vegetarian, he can cook his own food, or they even arrange for the matron to make something special for him. So the parents can go and talk to the teachers so that they don't send their children. They can send them to do anything else. But if it is involving meat, fish, or eggs, it's against our principles. So please don't do it. But if they understand, good. If they don't, then you unless you want to withdraw your children from the school. If they don't, you just have to let them do it with the understanding that Krishna is watching and Krishna will rectify the situation. All right, thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
Yes. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hi, Vanchakal Taravyascha, Kripasnivya Vacha, Paritanam Parinibhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
His Holiness Bhakti Srivastava Maharaj Ki Jai.
So, Mataji, your hand is up.
But I think you are off to somewhere. Maybe we'll leave the next class.
I'm not hearing you.
So can you hear me?
Your volume is very low.
Can you hear me?
Waiting for connection.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I said, yes, I have a question, but I don't know if you want us to leave it for the next class since you're already rounding up.
Okay, so we can make it tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow I'll ask it. Hare Krishna.
All right, thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Mm.